Good morning, Washington, and all the ships at sea, and Baltimore too. I spilled something on my shirt there. I just had lunch. Just had lunch, and I spilled something. So this is my favorite shirt. All right, folks. So let's do a little bit of cutting and pasting. Let's do a little bit of ripping today. Here's today's Washington Post. Okay, here's today's Washington Post. So let's go through it page by page, and I'll rip the ads out. So here we go. There's a little tiny ad there on page 2. So we have that. Da-da-da, there's page 3. Okay, there's page 5. There's a half page ad on page 5. There we go. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And then we go to page 8 and 9. Nothing. Page 10. Oh, page 10. Page 11, there's an ad. Do-do-do-do-do. There we go. Isn't this fun? Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Okay, so let's make sure I got them all. Let's see. So we have front page. We have pages 2 and 3. And we have 4 and 5. And we have 6 and 7. And we have 8 and 9. And we have 10 and 11. 12 and 13. Okay, so this is the whole A section. 14-page A section. And 14-page A section. And these are the ads in the 14-page A section. That one, and that one. That's it. These are all the ads in the A section of today's Washington Post. Okay? Okay, so now let's look at the style section. Okay, here's one for Arena Stage. There you go. Okay, well, these movie directors, I guess they're paid for, and comics aren't. That's it. Okay, so that is the entire display ad load in the style section. The entire display ad load in the style section. And in sports, by golly, there are no ads in sports. Okay, we got classifieds, of course, to get some revenue from that, but, you know, the job at wanted ads are less than 1 page. So there's no display ads in sports. Let's see what's in Metro. Okay, well, okay, we got the big coupon here. So, that we got. Isn't this fun, folks? Let's rip out the Washington Post ads. Oh, those are just ads for the paper. Okay, we do have, okay, here's the biggest ad in the paper so far. The Sleepy's ad. It's hard to rip out, but there it is. Okay, and, okay, so that's the ads that were in the Metro section. 2. And, of course, the health and science section today. Oh, we do have an ad in here. That. Okay. So, basically, in the entire Washington Post today, we have, let's count our ads. We have 1, we have 2, we have 3, we have, okay, a biggie here, 4, we have 5, we have 6, and we have 7. So there are 7 display ads in the entire Washington Post today. In, what is it, 5 sections, 7 display ads, and most of them are teeny tiny. Which, I don't know, man. Is there something wrong with that picture? Wow. Wow. Looks like Dan Snyder has sold. We told you Dan Snyder had some radio station, put his entire radio station conglomerate cluster on the market there. And apparently he sold his 2 stations down in Tidewater. They're an AM/FM sports talk combo. WXTG, The Game, 102.1 The Game, sold that to a company which is going to flip it to a AAA, alternative, adult alternative format. So that's true. Yeah, we reported more news that came true. Imagine that. More truth from DCR-TV. Wow. But that's interesting because what does that mean? What does that mean? There's, his Richmond station. Well, no, what's the Richmond station? I think it's just an AM, right? But the Washington stations, we have the 2 sports talkers, WTEM, ESPN 980, which is on 3 signals, and then he has WSPZ on 570. I really think it would be smart move for Clear Channel. In the olden days, remember Clear Channel had 5 FMers in the market, and they had 3 AMers. They had 980 and 1260 and 570. Yeah, those 3. They sold them, okay? I think they sold them all to Dan Snyder. Remember that? I forget, that was 5 or 6, 7 years ago. They sold the whole batch of AMers to Dan Snyder, and then Dan Snyder sold off. No, they did. And then Dan Snyder sold off to 1261 to Salem. So he continues to own the 570 and the 980. I wouldn't, it might not be a bad idea for Clear Channel. They could probably get them at a lot less money than they sold them for to buy 980 and maybe even 570. Then, when Cumulus takes Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh off of WMAL, they could then launch a news talker in the Washington market on 980, maybe 572. That, I don't know. That would, if you put a news talker on 980 and 570, the 980 signals in Hyattsville, that's just where the transmitter is. So that would give you pretty good coverage. And then the 570 signals on the west side of the metro there in Germantown. Those 2 signals together would give you pretty good day and night coverage of the Washington metro if you used them in tandem. Putting a news talker on that would give Clear Channel, they already have 5 music FMers in the market, so that would give them a good a good news talker in the market, a decent signal anyway. And with having Rush and Sean on the signal, plus Rush and Sean are syndicated by Clear Channel's Premiere, so it would all be in-house. So that would make a lot of sense, because otherwise, if WMAL were to drop Rush and Sean, I don't know where they would go that would be a strong station in the market. You don't really have any other sports talkers in this market that would be very strong. You have Metro Radio 730 WTNT. It's got some signal problems, and you have the Salem station at 1260, which has got some signal problems. And, I don't know. I think that would be, if I was there at, Rockville Pike there at the Clear Channel headquarters there in Washington, I would certainly be contemplating that opportunity of doing that. But what do you know? That's just me. So anyhow, no more big reverberations yet from the Sinclair purchase of WJLA. An interesting thing was the Baltimore Sun David Zurwick points out that one of the main ways you make money advertising-wise nowadays with broadcast television stations is by selling political ads. And of course, the Washington market is hypercharged for that already. So that's a good reason to want to own a station in the Washington market, but also because Virginia is now such a battleground state that every election now, it's right there in the middle between the Democrats and the Republicans. It's a very in-play state. And there's a lot of advertising revenue in Virginia. In fact, what do they say? Allbritton's 2 top revenue stations besides WJLA were his Harrisburg station and his Lynchburg station, and that's Pennsylvania and Virginia, which are 2 constantly in-play swing states. So an interesting move there. And somebody also said, and it's true, Sinclair has a pile, billions and billions and billions of dollars of debt, and if something goes wrong and they can't repay some of that debt, they could always sell off WJLA, which would probably fetch a lot of money, $800, $900 million, and maybe ABC would want to buy it. So there's still some hope out there among a lot of folks that ABC will eventually get control of Channel 7 WJLA. But for the foreseeable future, I think not. Be interesting to see, though, what kind of changes they do make at WJLA. You watch Channel 45 in Baltimore, and it's a very kind of youth-oriented newscast. And Channel 7's news here in Washington is kind of grayish. We have Gordon Peterson and Maureen Bunny. A lot of the older folks from some of the other stations have migrated to Channel 7, and I think you're going to see more of a youth movement there. 7 lately, the ratings has not really kept up with, the market leader of Channel 4 and even Channel 5 and to some degree Channel 9. I think you're going to see a lot more of a youth intensity in their newscasts. I really do. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of changes we see at Channel 7. But again, with the new owners, you're probably going to see a while before they start making changes. I don't think they're going to come in on day one and hand out pink slips, but you never know. Interesting to notice Morris Jones. Now, Morris Jones used to be on Channel 5 for many years ago, back with Tracy Neal. They used to be the top evening sports and evening news anchors there on Channel 9. Morris left and did some other things, and then he came back to the area. This was a number of years ago, and he worked up for Sinclair. And he was, Sinclair had this thing called News Central, where at Hunt Valley Studios, they broadcast a national newscast that went around to a lot of their 60-ish stations at the time. Now they own more like 150. But he was like the main anchor, and they did it in a way that made it look like a local newscast. So if you were in like Des Moines, Iowa, or Portland, Oregon, and you were turning on your Sinclair station, there would be Morris Jones giving you what you thought was the local news or local-ish news. And a lot of people thought Morris Jones was a local anchor. He was actually based here at the News Central at Sinclair. Well, Sinclair got rid of that a while back. Then they made Morris Jones their Washington bureau chief or whatever. I don't know what that was. But then he eventually got a job over there at Allbritton at Channel 7, WJLA, and News Channel 8. And he's on News Channel 8 now. He anchors a number of newscasts on News Channel 8. Now that Sinclair has bought Allbritton, it's back to Sinclair for good old Morris Jones. He just can't get away from Sinclair. So Morris and Sinclair are back together again. So it'll be interesting to, we welcome back into the Sinclair family, Mr. Jones. Be interesting to see what they do with him over there at Sinclair. So anyhow, that's the big news for today. All right, folks. So anyhow, this is it. All the ads in today's Washington Post. That's it. 7 ads in an entire broadsheet newspaper. I don't know, man. I'd be a little worried. All right, folks. Thanks for watching Dave TV for the 30th of July, 2013. And somebody said to me, you try to wear those camo cutoffs. Military folks don't wear camo cutoffs. They never cut off their camos. No. What's that? The Johnny Carson joke? The slosh and cut off. cut off your camos. Bazinga!